From Washington, D.C., Roland, good morning.
Good morning, Tom, Sybil, and Guy. First of all, shout out, Tom, to the Black Educators. I was at Dillard High School in Fort Lauderdale for the Black Alliance of Black School Educators on Friday. Absolute great time with them, and so certainly enjoyed it. They're the same school district as Parkland High School, so I met the superintendent and all the different folks there. So phenomenal job they're doing there. Over the weekend, all the folks I was in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, the entire weekend. All the journalists in D.C. were just like on pins and needles, just waiting for the Mueller report. I was playing golf.
With Kid Rock.
And they were just waiting. Then all of a sudden, he turns it into Attorney General Bob Barr on Friday, and then yesterday, Barr drops this 4-page letter summary, whatever you want to call it, and we might as well be discussing the Barr report because Mueller presented an 800-page report, and what we really are discussing is a 4-page summary of the report by Bob Barr. Joining us is legal analyst A. Scott Bolden, former head of the D.C. Democratic Party, as well as Monique Presley, both of them attorneys here in the nation's capital. Scott, I'll start with you. Donald Trump is running victory laps. Oh, a full exoneration, but that's not quite what Bob Mueller laid out. Based upon what we know, since we have not actually seen the Mueller report, we only have Bob Barr's 4 pages.
Yeah, really. Think about it. An American president is running a victory lap because he wasn't indicted or he wasn't charged and he wasn't found by his own Republican Party to have done anything wrong. I mean, let that settle for a minute. Secondly, it wouldn't be a victory part. This is not the end of the investigation. In many respects, it's the beginning because, one, that 800-page report is going to have to come out. You're going to have to give the people what they want, but Congress is going to pursue it with vengeance, if you will, because bad conduct, unsavory conduct may not rise to a level of criminality, but it certainly can rise to the impeachment process. And so look for more from this, but we got to get the report because the facts behind the decision of Barr and Mueller is really, really super important. I mean, the attack on our democracy, it goes to the core of our election and independent elections and values. And so there's going to be more over this over the next 2 years, trust me.
Monique, collusion. Preet Bharara, the former U.S. attorney there in New York, he said on Good Morning America, on collusion, the case is closed. On the issue of obstruction, we're sort of not done. Mueller did not really, based upon what we know, again, Barr's interpretation,
4 pages.
Mueller did not take a side.
No, he didn't. And in my mind and in my experience, that adds credibility to Mueller's report. It doesn't take from it because what you want is a special prosecutor that is going to look at facts and give you exactly what has been found and not overreach. Now, what the United States Congress does with those facts is up to them in doing their due diligence. He did the part that he was supposed to do with the information that he had. And I think once we see the 800 pages, we'll figure out that everybody with the last name Trump still has some problems. So because we can't find collusion somewhere in the code based on these facts doesn't mean, one, that the president didn't obstruct. We know he did. He said so on national television. And two, it doesn't mean that Congress doesn't still do their job, right? And then we wait for the Southern District of New York to do its job. And you can count on them to pick up and do the job. Where
That's what I was going to ask about, because that was a conversation yesterday, was that he may have escaped something in this, but what really needs to be looked at and what he should be really fearful of is that Southern District of New York and coming in on
And it wasn't. Right, Sybil, and it wasn't really an escape because they were working hand in hand. Mueller found things that weren't part of his purview and passed them and referred them on to the Southern District. The Southern District picked them up, investigated them, and now they're starting to bring charges. So we're not near a conclusion.
Hey, guys, let's remember one other thing, too. the state of New York is also investigating. That's where Donald Trump lived, worked, and ran his campaign.
Right.
My former classmate in law school, Tish James, who's the new attorney general, is certainly looking at it, and they're looking at his insurance practices, his tax practices, and his real estate development practices. The other thing I want to say about Mueller, if I may, and I tend to disagree with you here, is that, Mueller's job was to investigate and reach some conclusions, right? Obstruction, the charge, is one of the few, if not only, charges in the Federal Criminal Code where you don't have to complete the crime. That is, you can attempt to obstruct. And I don't understand how Mueller concludes or is inconclusive on whether he even attempted to obstruct because of what Monique said. We know what he said. We didn't have to interview him. He said it on national TV, and he fired Comey. And he can fire Comey to obstruct justice, even though he's got a right to do it. So there's more to come on this, and that's really where you're going to see the House focus on the facts in support of that. And perhaps if they get to impeachment, that'll be the leading charge for them if they decide to file those articles of impeachment.
This is being framed now in the political arena, and the reality is, I think to Monique's point, that was always the case in terms of Mueller says, I'll go through this. Congress now is in your hands because you're also dealing with the president of the United States. So now we're now back to, Scott, I'll start with you, then go to Monique. Now a political battle where Republicans are going to say, okay, Democrats, enough, give this thing up, that's it. But now, of course, you have even Ari Fleischer is sitting here going, oh, now it's time for they should now investigate the Obama administration. I mean, they literally are trying to flip this thing back to Obama and Hillary Clinton. Scott, first, and Monique.
But Obama and Hillary Clinton aren't walking through that White House door. Their time is over. And I don't know how long the Republicans are going to hold on to this. Look for the House to issue subpoenas. Look for them to, if necessary, subpoena Barr and Mueller. They're going to hear from them first. Then they're going to issue subpoenas for the report. And then we're going to be in federal court. And it may even go to the Supreme Court unless a deal is cut. But this isn't going away. There's no victory lap here for the Republicans. They want it to be, right? But the reality is that the public needs to know how their democracy was attacked. They need to know whether their president is a crook or not, or a bad actor, or they need to understand who he is and what he represents to America outside of political guidelines, what the reality is. And that's really what's going to drive the next steps in this investigation.
Monique?
Right, and you've got to look at the true gangster, Nancy Pelosi, is in charge now. And
the true gangster.
She is going to be very methodical because, in her opinion, the American public does not have the stomach for impeachment absent some bona fides, some facts that make it such that it is absolutely necessary. So we're going to see the House go through those paces. And in the meantime, y'all, voting matters. We're heading for 2020. Let's handle our business.
And that was really the point.
Right.
That was the point that I had made yesterday. Very simple. I still don't believe they're going to impeach Trump because Republicans control the Senate. The way to remove him from the Oval Office is simply at the ballot box. So folks better mobilize, organize, and focus on that.
How quickly do you think that they will be called before the committees, the House committees?
By 10 o'clock?
Well, y'all make me feel a lot better this morning. I thank you, Roland and Monique and Scott. I mean, because I was feeling, but according to you guys, it ain't over.
This
the
is why
party
we're here.
ain't over.
Yes.
Yes.
That's right.